While the kids quiet and I've got some time.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have our very special guest, Miss Tracy Keeping, who is hosting our Style by Design. So we want everyone to welcome her. And Tracy, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am, well, Tracy Lynn or Tracy, either or. I am a single mom. I currently work for our provincial government because I'm up in Canada. And I realized after having my child, I can't believe it took me so long, but I had him late at 41, that I didn't know what I wanted, what I liked. And, you know, starting to get up into that, what they call more mature woman, which was just like, come on, give me a break. I've only just hit 40 here. But I realized I was dressing in a way that was comfortable, but didn't really feel like me. So then I started on the journey that I actually started in my teens, but got told I would never make any money doing it. So pick, you know, a more, what do I want to say? Not profitable, but, you know, like the normal office job or whatever, and be responsible. And so I let all the fashion and the stuff go because I thought I'd be like a personal stylist, or maybe I'd go to New York and be like a buyer, or, you know, something like that. Here we are 30 years later, 30 plus years later. And I really come back to my first love of style and what it means to be an older woman and dressing in a way that feels like me, but I didn't know where to start. And then I discovered human design. And I actually challenged the person that I was taking human design with, like a little mini certification or whatever, to help me figure out a way to incorporate fashion or style with your human design. And so we sort of, you know, brainstormed some ideas and came up with a way that I can do that. And so here we come with the dress by design, the style by design, the whatever you would like to call it. And that's my take on dressing authentically.
Okay.
Because I can look at your human design and help you out.
Okay. And for people who may not be familiar with what human design is, can you give us a little?
Yeah, it's a modality. It's one modality that combines 5 modalities into one. So it looks at the chakras, it looks at astrology, it looks at the Kabbalah, it looks at quantum physics, and I always forget the 5th one. Anyway, it combines them all down into one, and you have your conscious side and your unconscious side, and it just sort of boils everything down, and you can look at things like things that you're sort of always meant to struggle with, things that you're always going to excel at, things that you can't escape, as well as how you can present your environment, your mindset, how you manifest things. And it's just kind of a really, really fun way of looking at things, especially we've heard so much about your chakras, and then we've heard so much about astrology, and this is just one way to sort of combine them all into one way. And so I have found one aspect of human design that can sort of help you with your style.
That's awesome. And what is your human design? What are you?
I'm a Manny Jen.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I happen to know Susan is a manifester. So I believe that, yeah, I think that's right. We looked it up a while back now. I can't remember, but I think so.
Yeah. So I specifically, like, I would give a reading if that was somebody, like if they weren't familiar with it, we could do like a whole reading, but really the one aspect that I focus on is your environment arrow. So like when you're looking at a chart, there's 4 arrows,
right?
And they'll either point left or right. And you kind of have to move through each one in order to achieve what they call passenger consciousness. But I think of my style as my environment. Most people would think of like where you're working or where you live, right? Like the house that you have, the office that you style or decorate. I think of it as my style. My style is my environment. My closet is my environment. And so that's what we would dive into a little deeper as to, are you left? Are you right? And then there's other deeper things that I can't talk about unless I actually look at your chart. But
because
there's tones, and within those
tones,
design. Right? Yeah. So yeah.
No, it's a deep subject. It's fascinating. Human design. I had never heard of it till probably 2 years ago, which is, it's just insane. Had never heard of it. And when you really get into learning about yourself, it's mind-blowing what it can do if you're working with someone who knows what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. And I found it was that piece that I needed to give me permission.
Yeah.
So like some of the things that I thought were wrong about myself or the things that I struggled with, it sort of gave me that permission to be like, oh, okay, I'm actually meant to operate that way. So like
Right.
all of those things that you sort of, give yourself grief over when you're growing up, like, for example, I could never settle on a style.
Right.
I could never, like, there were pieces of trends that I liked, but I never liked the whole trend. I sort of made my own. Well, guess what? I'm meant to experiment with my style,
Right.
right? But it made me feel wrong that I didn't want to follow a trend or that I didn't like a trend.
Right.
Um, I'm sort of meant to bounce around. Being a Manny Gen, we've got lots of ideas, and if we're bored with it, we're going to move on. But yet, in this world, if you don't follow through, you're flaky, or
Right.
you're a procrastinator, or you're, I don't know, think of a name that somebody said against you.
Right.
But that's how a manifesting generator operates. If we're
Now,
bored with something, we're going to move on.
move on, because you just literally can't do anything else, or you drive yourself crazy. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, human design has been that permission slip to be okay with the things that I thought were not okay with me.
Now, when did you discover human design for yourself?
Probably 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was around 2019. So actually maybe almost 4 years ago now, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah. Yeah. And it's been
Was
like
it
kind
just
of
an idea that came to you to combine that with your personal style, to combine the two? Because I think you're the first person I've ever met that actually does that.
Well, it was during the course of the certification that it was like just something that the facilitator was talking about, and all of a sudden I was like, I wonder, would there be a way to combine these things? And so I
Right.
kind of put it to her, I've got a challenge
I
for
love
you.
that.
You know what I like to do, where I'm sort of going with my coaching.
Right.
Do you think we could find a way? And so, yeah, we had a brainstorming business session, and she was like, what if this is what is it? And as we dove into it, it turned out that, yeah, it was the environment arrow.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant, because I've met people that do like human design in your business and human design in your personal life, but to take it down to such a personal level where it's your personal style, I think that is absolutely brilliant. I
Yeah.
do.
Well, and they do it for parenting, and they do it for the
Yeah, they
kids,
do
and
it
they do
for
it for all
lots of
sorts of
things.
things, right? So I was like, there's got to be a way.
Well, no, yeah. And it's like, it's so, the thing I remembered when I discovered human design was how eerily accurate it was. It's like it pinpoints you and you're like, oh my God, it's like somebody's reading
Yeah.
your mail. You know?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I've never been hugely into like astrology. It's like, that's always a hit or miss kind of thing. And so when the first time I heard of
Yes.
it, I was like, oh, well, this might be fun. And then all of a sudden you realize how accurate it is. And you're like, oh my God, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is, once you see it, so like there's also tones, but you need the chart to decide
You
to
have to
to figure
know.
out what the tones are.
Right.
But there's touch, so like if you have that tone, you have to enjoy what it feels like when you're so online shopping might not be the right avenue for you,
Yeah.
or you've got to make sure that when you get it, you return it right away if it doesn't feel
Yes.
right. um then there's ones where when you put it on, it needs to make you feel safe, like you need to feel secure in what you're
Yes.
wearing. How it looks, like how the outer world maybe perceives, or like you're looking in a mirror and you're like, yep, that is it,
That's it.
and then you can walk out the door. But
Yeah.
if you're not getting that vibe from it, you probably don't want to go out in it. So
Ha-
it's really neat how you can dive into it.
Have like with the main types there are, like projectors and generators. Is there any differences that jump out at you right off the top of the bat that if you knew someone was a
Not
projector, does that?
No, it's more the arrow. And what I have found is looking at the G center, right? So like if it's an open G center, you're definitely more influenced by the people that you're with, right?
Okay.
Whereas if you have a defined G center, you know who you are. Like there
Right.
is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so I kind of liken that to your group of friends.
Right.
If you have an open G center, you are not necessarily going to get along with you are not going to necessarily get along, and you're going to look at it and go, well, how do you know, Tracy? I don't get the correlation.
Yeah.
right? But they all serve a purpose for me.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a defined G center, everybody in that room would probably know why they know Dawn, and they would
Right.
all get along.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same way with your style, right? Like
Right.
you take little bits and pieces with an open G from either other people around you, or like I used to do with the different styles. I would take bits and pieces that I like because I'd see a friend wearing something and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I'd see somebody else wearing something. And it's like, oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So then I sort of created my own style. But if you've got a defined G center, you probably know you like X, you don't like Y, and there is no way that you're going to be seen in Z.
Right.
So for me, it's more the centers and the arrows than, like, all of us like to, I think, experiment in some way, but how can we do that if we are not meant to experiment?
Right.
If we're meant to have more of a uniform-ish look.
Right. So as you've gotten older, like you said, you were kind of into design a long time ago, personal styles. Like, what happened to give yourself permission to start pursuing this?
Believe it or not, having my kid, honestly, like having my son and realizing that I didn't know who I was. So how can I raise him to be who he is? And how can I tell him to go after his dreams when I'm not going after mine? So what are my dreams? And looking in the closet, it was weird that it always came back to style for me. I'm
Mhm.
a Leo. So if
Okay.
my hair isn't right, I don't feel right.
Right.
And then there's always some sort of piece that are like the clothes. I don't feel comfortable. And I looked in the closet and I realized I was dressing in a way that I thought was okay. I was dressing in a way that, you know, I had one job and I used to dress a little funky, and I would put on a corset or a waist cincher, or I'd wear knee-high boots, but nobody else was wearing that. And so I could kind of feel myself putting it on in the morning and feeling like, yeah, this is going to be really good. And then I get into the office and go, oh, I shouldn't have worn it.
And you start
I
shrinking
don't
back.
feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So then I started being the open G center. I started taking on what the others were wearing. Right. So like if they were casual, I'd go casual.
Right.
If they were a little more dressy, I'd go a little more dressy. But was it me?
Yeah.
And getting older, realizing that the styles are all kind of buttoned up. And I'm not a buttoned up person. So I guess I started just going down this thing of like, what would it, how, I don't know about when you got into the coaching, but when I got into the coaching industry, it was kind of a feel the feelings,
Yes.
or, like follow your passions. Well, I'd spent so long living a life that I thought I was supposed to live that it's like, well, I don't know what my
You did.
feelings are. I don't know what my passions are.
Right.
And so then I started really diving into what does that mean? And then I came across a coach who teaches by the elements. So it's space, earth, wind, fire, and water. And so I took her quiz and I came out as fire and water.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that kind of makes sense actually, because I'm a little bit spicy. I just wasn't showing it. And I can be a warm, caring, sensitive person, which is the water. So I was like, okay, so this will be kind of interesting to do, like to mix both in. And that was what really sort of solidified it for me. And I was like, but I don't want to coach on the elements. That's her thing.
Right.
And then that's when I found human design and went down that path. And I just realized that the style of my mother's 40s and my grandmother's 40s is not my 40s.
Absolutely. Because we've noticed like people have been posting things on Facebook, like where they show pictures of that generation, even if you're not looking at your own parents' pictures, but they look so different than we do at the same age. And it's
like, I don't think I look 50.
No, it's like, yeah.
But to see the clothes that they kind of expect a 50-year-old to wear is like, that is so not me. Like, that is just, so it kind of, am I wearing kids' clothes? Am I doing whatever? And so it sort of sent me on this path. Well, and then the pandemic hit, right? So we couldn't go out and look at stuff.
Right.
So then that sent me down a rabbit hole of what's online. Like, what is there that I like? What is there that would fit my body shape? Because I'm an average 12 or whatever, which actually, I don't even think that's average. I think now the average North American is a size 16, I think.
14, 16, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because all the sizes got smaller.
Well, yeah. And so now it's like, well, what's out there that I like and will fit. And so that sent me down the kind of the rabbit hole of like wish.com and what's that other one, AliExpress, which are cheap, but then I was like, okay, well, they're super cheap. I can start trying
Fine
stuff
things,
out to
yeah.
see what I like without spending a fortune. And then, brought me to Shein and Rumwe and all these other online stores
Right.
that had more variety in bigger sizes.
They
bigger,
do. Yeah. Especially
you know?
Roseby. I've ordered a couple of dresses from Roseby that are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And could never find anything like that in the store. Yeah.
No. And that's the thing is I feel like the stores just, for whatever reason, don't see the value in older women, yet we're the ones. And, probably even 10 years older. So like, hitting
Right.
the 60s that have the money to spend.
Right. Well, it seems like
But they're
there's
not
one
catching up
extreme.
with
They have like the targets move towards, they cater to teenagers here now. It's
Yeah.
sizing wise, it appears they do. So you
Yeah.
have the younger, really like the junior sizes, I'll call them the junior sizes here. But then it jumps all the way to the really, really older ladies who are there's just no middle ground
No.
to be who
And
we
I
are.
like to I like to combine, like I definitely like to dress a little bit sexier, even though I am probably I am at my heaviest that I've ever been.
Right.
But that part I'm okay with. It's now finding that fine line for me of sort of dressing a little sexy while sort of maintaining some level of respectability amongst my kids' friends,
Right.
because a lot of them are easily 10 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
And, so then it became a question of, okay, well, I'm still dressed sexy, just nobody needs to know. It can be what's going on underneath the clothes. It can
Right.
just be the lingerie sets that I wear now. And so then I started looking at sets, like subscriptions, online subscriptions that I could do for lingerie. Like there's the Naughty Knickers, and then there's the Empress Mimi and Adore Me, and I think there's one other one. So, it just became, how out there do I want to be? And some days I want to be really out there, and other days not so much.
Right. So like when the place where the office that you work at now, is it more conservative, like traditional conservative as a government office?
Yeah, it's got, well, I mean, they've loosened it up a little bit in the last 10, 15 years. I've seen people with Uggs on, wandering the halls. But they do expect a certain level of button upness.
Right.
We're working from home now. We don't always have to have our cameras on. So I do get to dress a little differently. And I've thrown on the odd body harness under a t-shirt, so then you just see the collar peeking out, and and I've gotten a few, what's that? I'm like, oh, just a thing.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Do you do any of the women at your office know what you do? Like, is the business you're building?
They do. I mean, I've talked about it with a few of them, and I've gotten a few like, oh, when you talk about the sexy side of things,
Yeah.
the human design piece, you see the eyes glaze over. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's kind of gotten to a point now where when I go in, I just don't even think it phases them anymore, because I will have the skinny jeans on with like the thigh high boots.
Yeah.
But then I might just have like a t-shirt on. My sexy is my boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to comment. Now I think it's just, that's Tracy.
They've accepted it. They quit fighting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you think women are right now? And Laura, everybody joined in is like where we're at right now in the world with the way women are expected to dress and be, because it seems like we're at this, it's a difficult place to be, because it's hard to be personally expressed, like really hard to be, and still get over knowing that people are going to talk about you or not want anything to do with you because they judge you by the way you're dressed.
Oh, hands down. I mean, anybody who says that they don't is lying, to be perfectly honest. Let's be clear. I mean, even when guys say, oh, I don't notice her looks, but I notice her eyes. Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I feel like, honestly, in 2023, I think I would like to have thought we'd be further along than we are.
Yeah.
I feel like we are definitely taking a step backwards with a lot of this stuff, especially with, and I don't, you might even remember seeing this, or maybe it was just on my feed, but I remember sometime around spring when the summer stuff started coming out, I remember somebody posting from Target that they had all like these 70s style muumuus coming out.
They do. They do. I've been to
Yeah,
Target.
yeah. And
They
I was just,
do.
and I was just
Go
like,
look at the fall stuff. The fall
And you know
stuff's
what else they
worse. It's
have?
like
is it really?
Oh my
We don't
gosh.
have a
like
Target,
70s
so I haven't
retro.
looked.
I mean,
It's all
I sent-
70s.
I sent Dawn a picture of this dress that, and for lack of a better word, had boob slits in the middle of. I mean, but it looked like something that my grandmother would wear.
Oh my
It was-
Lord.
Yeah, and then you know what else? You know those denim like one piece jumpsuits that buttoned up the front that you literally have to take completely off to go to the bathroom. They have a bunch of those.
Oh
And
my goodness.
a lot of corduroy, which I haven't seen in years, but no, it was just in these loud
Velour.
giant flower patterns.
Oh
Velour
my
has come out.
goodness.
I was in Verona the other day, and they had velour, like the really like long sleeve velour shirts.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No, it has
Everything
definitely
that goes
come
around
back.
comes around. But I would like to also think that what goes around comes around in a slightly more modern style. Like, sure, let's have velour. I mean, it's
Right.
warm, let's be honest.
Yes.
But can we have a modern cut?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the
You
thing
know?
with like Target, especially their stuff is cut so small now. Like even for the average woman, like somebody who wears a 10 or a 12 would probably be in an 18 or something. It would be
Ugh.
that's how big you
See,
have to
and
go.
that's demoralizing, right?
Yeah.
Like that can be absolutely demoralizing. And that's why we get these women who now say, I don't want to go shopping.
Exactly.
I don't like shopping, and like we were talking the other day, and I'm not normally too fussed about the size. Like I am what I am, and I just go and I look for something that I like and that fits. But if I can find something that actually says is a small when I know normally I'd be a large, you can be damn sure I'm going to go buy it because
Right.
I just got to buy a small,
Yes.
right? Do I need what it was? Probably not, but I'm going to buy it because it was a small.
Right.
But it doesn't just extend to the stuff that you wear publicly. I mean, the stuff that they have for sleepwear is atrocious.
Hmm.
I mean, there ain't
Oh.
nothing sexy about 95% of that stuff they've got in Target and places that people are. I mean, you go in there, it's like it's just like t-shirt, long, baggy.
Yeah, everything's
cover it up.
you know.
There is no
Yeah,
negligee
see-
stuff to it. I mean, it's like,
Well, and that's the thing is I seriously feel like we've taken a step back. Like it's almost like they want us to dress like our grandmothers because we don't want to be seen, or they don't want us to be seen, right? Like it's
Right.
just, I don't know. It's so funny. It's almost like, and I think it started happening probably long before Roe versus Wade, but I feel like it's definitely come to the forefront
Right.
more, realizing now that these rights of ours are disappearing. Now, thankfully in Canada, it's not as bad. I mean, I'm sure it will come up here at some point, but what you guys are seeing is so vastly worse.
Right.
And for me, taking up space kind of starts with how we look. I mean, yes, it
Exactly.
starts with our mindset because we have
Right.
to also feel comfortable with how we're showing up, which is sort of the confidence piece that I throw into the coaching for the style, because we have to be able to own it and own it confidently.
Right.
But I feel like there is a little bit of sexy that needs to come back, because otherwise we're just going to keep melting into the background, and I feel like we're going to take these table scraps that we shouldn't be taking.
Well, right. It's like
You
the
know?
people like in the online dating world, and you see this, especially if you're on TikTok or whatever. It's like anytime any woman posts something that's for women, it's not even, but there are so many men that come in and they start immediately, they go to a woman's looks. They go to her age. They tell her how bad she looks. And it's like, we have to take back control where we don't actually, I mean, we're getting there, but we don't care. We're not dressing for you, honey. It's like, no,
Yeah.
we're dressing for ourselves. We're doing our hair for ourselves. What we're doing has nothing to do with the male gaze.
And I've said that all along to pretty much every boyfriend I think I've ever had, ex-husband, all of it. Like they've commented on something, and it's the only time I felt comfortable in standing up for myself was, this is me. Like, I'm stuck with me my whole life. I am not doing this for you.
Right.
I feel better wearing makeup. I feel better when I do my hair a certain way. I feel better wearing X, Y, or Z, right? Like, this isn't about you. You get to benefit from the byproduct of this.
Right. Now, have you
Granted.
ever gotten any pushback? on that.
A little bit. Yeah, I did, because there was one guy that I was dating, and I had decided I was sick to death of my long hair. I walked into a hairdresser and I said, hack it all off. And I did. I chopped it all off. It was probably as long as it is now. And I went to a pixie cut.
Oh,
I was
wow.
just sick of it. And he just like, he got used to it, but he did not like it. And I
Right.
said, you know what, dude, it's hair. It will grow back.
It'll grow back. It's an accessory. That's why I mean hair
Yeah.
is like an accessory. Whatever you want to do
Yeah.
with it, do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I let my kid do it. All of his parents and friends think he's hilarious because he'll come in with colored hair, or right now he's working on a mullet, and they all think it's hilarious. And my response is, it's hair. It grows
Yeah.
back. You don't like it, chop it off and change it. It'll grow back,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
you know? And I think that came from my mom, who the hair always had to be perfect. It always had to be such a way. And, you know, even my hair had to be all done. And because I wouldn't look after my hair when it was long, she had to do it because I just couldn't be bothered. She chopped it all off.
Well, they were the generation that most of them, they went every week and got that, super hairdo or whatever. And it's like
Yeah.
sitting
Oh,
up.
my mom
basically,
always
so
had her hair permed. She would go and get her hair permed, and it always had to, it was a helmet. It always had to look perfect. And I guess I took away from that, I'm just going to do what I want to do with my hair, right? I mean, I know that our parents are who we look to, and I'm looking to break
Right.
that for my kid, to not be so fussed about things. And that's where I guess my mindset sort of comes in and plays a role, as I've started seeing how my mom was and some of the things that I took away from that. And now I don't have a daughter, and I would probably be even stronger about this if I had a daughter. But for me, it's about raising a son who realizes he doesn't get a say.
Right.
I'm going to dress the way I want to dress, and you don't get a say. Ergo, your generation, when you have a girlfriend, when you have friends, whatever, you don't get a say.
Right.
And I want him to be one of those guys who stands up and somebody wolf whistles or whatever, and he says, dude, that's not cool.
That's awesome. Now,
And so then for the girls, right? Like anybody who's got a daughter,
right.
what are we teaching them?
No, I think it's really tough. And I have two sons, and I ask them about that all the time. And they're actually more open than obviously anybody in our generation ever was. They don't, like, if their girlfriends wear booty shorts, it doesn't faze them at all. It doesn't matter where she's going. It's like, okay, they're far less judgmental as long as we let them be.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so much of that is taught, which, funny, we were talking about those ads that have been running that have been absolutely driving us bonkers.
Yes.
Well, you can dress sexy even if you're chunky, or even if you're overweight, or whatever. I can't remember all the different things they said. They were hideous. Yeah.
And that's the thing is I don't want, I want to bring it back to, what were we taught?
Right.
Like, what did we take away from, what we were taught? What can we break, right? Like, what resonates and what doesn't? And I'm finding that a lot doesn't resonate for me at all. And I've had that conversation with my mom, and she's a little mortified, but I mean, it is what it is. We all take these different things away, right? And so if you're a mother, you're a bit older, you have a daughter, what have you been teaching her? And my mom taught me that she didn't like what she looked like when she didn't have makeup on, so she wouldn't leave the house without a full face.
Right.
She wasn't comfortable with her body, so she was always buttoned up or covered in sweaters or whatever. And that it's bugging me. And that you felt bad about yourself because you didn't look the way you thought you should look.
Right.
And that doesn't resonate with me, because especially as we're getting older, menopause hits, and there's a lot of biological stuff that happens that I've been reading. Doesn't matter what you do, it's going to happen.
Right.
Weight gain, water gain, sleepless nights, irritability, all of this stuff. So how can we work with that? Okay. I've just said, I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I don't really exercise. It's not my thing. So I've had to come to grips with the fact that this is the new body I have to dress.
Right.
Can I still dress sexy in a way that I like with this body?
Right. And then can you tell a difference in the way you feel when you're kind of dressing not you, as opposed to when you're really stepping
Oh
into
yeah.
who you think you are and who you feel you are.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, these last 4 days I've been at home with Quinn because he's been sick. And I didn't bother doing, I mean, I did my hair sort of. I didn't put any makeup on because I knew I wasn't going out. And by today I was feeling it. I was a little like, okay, I need to put some makeup on. Okay, now I feel a little more like me.
Yeah.
You know, I totally feel a difference. And I don't know, I feel different. I don't know if it's exuded out into the world that anybody who saw me yesterday versus seeing me today would know a difference. I don't know.
Right.
No, I've never asked, but it definitely does something to the brain.
Well, I don't even know if it matters if they know, because it's your energy that's impacting everything. So it's like
Yeah.
whether they're conscious of it or not, they probably notice, but they don't know why they notice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, most
when you
likely.
feel like you're fire, you move through the world like you're on fire. And if
Yeah.
you're like we were talking about going from a wallflower to a wildflower, it's like, yeah, when you're
Yes.
shrinking back, the energy is night and day completely.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that would be, I noticed that the most at the beginning of the pandemic because we didn't know if we were going to be going back to the office. We didn't
Right.
know when we were going to be able to leave the house again. And so it was kind of like, well, what's the point? And so I wasn't putting on makeup. I wasn't really doing my hair. I wasn't even getting out of my pajamas.
Right.
And by about month, excuse me, by about month 3, I was like, why am I so tired all the time? I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. So why am I so tired? Well, okay, I haven't gotten out of pajamas in 3 months. Want to bet that's why I feel so tired all the time? You know? So I started actually just putting on different shirts because of course I was doing this so nobody could see my legs.
Right.
So I started actually wearing the shirts that I would have worn if I'd gone into the office, and I started putting makeup back on again. And it was just like, that's the difference. I'm actually like engaging in the world in a way that feels more like me. And I could feel a difference in my energy level. And I wasn't so tired all the time. Like it really is a psychological thing to package ourselves in a way that feels like us.
I agree. It's funny when we were talking about this the other day, it's like sometimes like when I first started really coming into who I was as a grown woman, when you finally give yourself permission to be who you are, it's like, and I went into my closet and it's like, I physically separated my closet into the wildflower and the wallflower side. And it was such a stark thing when I looked and I was like, and most of what I wore was on the wallflower side. I didn't want to wear anything that drew attention to myself, like ever. I always wanted to fade into the background, but you realize you've been conditioned into that women are not supposed to be seen. We're barely supposed to be heard. And you're just supposed to be the support for everything else that's going on around you, but never the centerpiece.
Well, and and my thing is, wear the wildflower stuff. Oh, you bought something because you want it for a special occasion. Guess what? Today is a special occasion. You don't need to have an actual, like, I'm going to a wedding or, like every day should be some kind of special occasion.
Right. That you exist. There's your special occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have this one young lady that I know that has some just beautiful dresses. She loves dresses, but she works from home. So she's like, well, I don't have anywhere to go to wear them. So she doesn't wear them. And I'm like, go sit at your desk in your dress because it's going to change the way you do business from that desk.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I notice a stark difference when I get up and I put just, even if it's mascara and lipstick, one little tiny thing makes all the difference in the world.
Yep. And that's the thing that I have to tell myself too. I love red lipstick, but I never wear it.
Yeah.
I've got probably 4 or 5 different shades upstairs in the bathroom.
I do too. Yeah.
I don't even remember last time I put one on.
Only a certain woman can wear or does wear red lipstick. It's a whole
harlots wear them, right?
Yeah,
straight. We got to own the harlotness of us.
No, it's a whole thing. Now, hey, Susan, since you work in teaching, how do the people dress at where you work?
Luckily for me, I mean, you see everything. I mean, Brandon comes to work literally in his shorts and his t-shirt because he's out in and out he's got mostly boys in his class. You see some that dress. I mean, like our executive director dresses up more. Shay does. It's like it really just depends. And then some are like medium casual, like we wear nicer tops and maybe wear like, I've gotten to where I wear jeans a little more because now I'm taking my boys outside because, if they've got to have that rip and romping time or we can't deal with classroom kind of thing. So
Now,
Yeah.
which, like, if you were saying when you go to work, do you dress to be seen or not be seen and take up space? Or is it somewhere in the middle?
probably somewhere in the middle. Now the opposite is, like I said, because our school is thankfully is very, you know, on the side of promoting diversity and inclusion. Now, when I sub at St. Frederick's, you're going to see me in a blazer, like
The
I mean,
conservative environment, yeah.
a little dressier, because my students are all in uniforms. I mean, they're wearing skirts and white shirts and ties and that kind of, just
Right.
so I step it up a little bit there. But
So
our school's probably somewhere in the middle.
like I'll just say, if you were going out, are you comfortable dressing as a woman who's prepared to take up space and have all eyes on her? Or do you feel resistance to that?
This is going to sound weird. I used to be. I mean, I'm probably not as much, and of course I'm getting a little bit better at it, but like for instance, when I was stationed in Korea, I went, you have the advantage of having tailors that can make anything for you. I mean, I had leather jacket, I went down, had clothes. I mean, and when I went out, I mean, yeah, it was like, people used to laugh because I used to wear my sunglasses when I went at night that way, and I mean, I
Sorry, heart. I wear my
style was
sunglasses at night.
style was a big thing. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And even now, I mean, well, I mean, I have this pair of kind of like suede blue boots, of course, that I absolutely love.
Okay, now
but I don't.
I'm gonna stop you right there. How many times have you worn them since you've had them? Because you've had those for years. Can one hand or two?
One
Yeah.
hand and probably
Nope.
the picture, and I have an excuse every time. Well, the winter time here, I don't want to mess. I mean, I've got that mother mentality, like when she died, where
Yeah, your Sunday
she had all
best.
that
Yeah.
she had a whole closet full of brand new clothes she'd never been in. It's kind of like her dining room that we were never allowed to go in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't want to mess my boots up. Probably the last time I had them on was for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
But I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you this week to find a reason to wear them. It's not quite winter yet, so I don't think you can use that as an excuse.
Nope. And it's not raining. So
I don't know what it's like down
no,
there.
it's not raining. It's not raining.
No, it's not. Believe me, it's not raining.
It's still hot
Okay.
and sunny down here.
It's not as hot as it was, and humidity's dropped about that much. But it's not.
I think you need to take those puppies out for a walk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Susan, do you own any red lipstick?
I own it's kind of a reddish pink that I do wear that to school. I mean, and now I start out the day looking all, my makeup's together. By the time I'm done with, I deal with high schoolers until 2, and then I have little kids and I'm all over the place. By the time, I try to remember to put it back on before I start tutoring, like before I switch to elementary school in the afternoon, but it doesn't always happen. So.
I feel that. But I do think you need to take those boots out for a walk.
Absolutely. So, Tracy, what do you think, like if you had to verbalize 2 or 3 things that you think causes the resistance for women of our age, over 40, to show up how they want to, do you think it's just society, or is it the relationships they're in? They're like, if they're in a romantic relationship or a partner type or dating, whatever.
I think it's going to be a combination of a bunch of things, because I mean, the idea of how we should dress generally comes much younger in life, right? So, right. I mean, it's what we witnessed from the elders,
right,
that we had, right? So for me, that would be my mom, because my grandma died when I was fairly young. So it would be my mom and then my friends' moms that I hung out with. Like a lot of that's going to come from them and seeing how they dressed, because that was the norm. So, they're older. This is what older people wear, or how they present themselves. I think a lot of it's going to have to do with society and just the plethora of information that we get from social media now, right? Like, I mean, we didn't have that growing up. It was literally just the ads on TV, which, let's be real. Well, actually, not even TV. Good Housekeeping. We were talking about that. I did go get one.
Oh God.
I did go get one. Yes.
All those 1950s rules about what you should do.
We looked it up, and Good Housekeeping and Red Book one started in the late 1800s, and the other one's the beginning of the 1900s. They've been out forever, which we would
Ever.
also like to note, not run by women.
They also had articles about what was appropriate behavior and how we should behave.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but guess who those
Right?
were written by? Yeah.
Yeah, and so many of them were written by men or were written by women, but probably edited by men.
Well, yeah.
And not so much about how to act and what to do, which I don't even know if you can see
Oh,
because
it's
I've got
blurry.
the blurry thing on.
Oh, there we go. Now we
But-
can see it. Yeah.
Now you can see it. But what became apparent for me when I was going through it was, who's got time for that? Because it was all about decorating for Halloween, decorating for fall, and all of these really cool ways to do your pumpkin, and
Right.
like the perfect way to do things was, they didn't say it, but that was how I kind of perceived it. And I'm
And
like,
you think
kids,
about it, and I don't know, I mean, like, probably the more upscale, like the more, I'm not gonna say flamboyant, but the one and push the envelope was Cosmopolitan, but they considered Cosmopolitan a bad thing for women. I mean,
Yes,
they
I remember
labeled
when
it
that
a
happened,
sex, they labeled it
Yep.
a sexy, the equivalent of Playboy kind of thing. When it
For
really
women,
wasn't.
yeah.
I mean,
no, but it was still kind of like, it was that friend you could talk to about sex without talking to your friends about sex.
About sex, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was where we got our information from. But I would say, like, I used to love looking through my mother's Good Housekeeping magazines as a kid, and I would go in there looking for different articles and recipes and things. And so reading that, you take away, right? Like Women's Day, all of those weird things, like how to
Family
lose 10
circle.
pounds in 5 days. And,
Yes.
and they still talk about that stuff.
They really do. It's like you've been reduced to, how much weight can you lose? How can you make yourself more attractive for the man walking through the door, kind of thing. It was never about you.
Well, look what's
No.
happened. They had this new medication that was really designed for people with diabetes, and now the people that are diabetics can't get it because everybody else is getting prescriptions for it, so they can lose weight because
Right.
it does work that way.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I heard about that. That was insane.
Yeah, and it's like,
Absolutely
I don't know
insane.
about in Canada, but here it's like, and they literally, people that truly need it, that it would be a health saver for them, they're having a hard time getting it because so many
Because all
people
the
have
people are-
gotten their
yeah.
doctors to write a script for it.
Well, what's funny, I don't know if it works like this. It probably doesn't in America, like with your health insurance now. They are required, if you have insurance, they're required to take your weight and figure out what your BMI is. And that goes into your medical file, which can be used against you if something happens to you later. When they can say, well, look at you, you didn't take care of yourself because your BMI is too high, even though the BMI has been debunked as highly inaccurate.
Oh yeah, Allstate made us, we had to send in a thing that had our BMI, had our blood pressure. And it had this law. Our cholesterol numbers and all this other stuff. We had every time they renewed our insurance every year. We had to go get all this stuff filled out.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And now there's women I know that are actually living in fear of going to the doctor because you can't decline to have your weight taken, because somebody has done, a couple of friends have done that. But with your insurance, if they want insurance to cover the office visit, they have to get weighed and have that.
The military was the same way.
It was like, the
military had a
yeah.
The military for women and men had a weight size chart, and for a lot of us at the time who were there were many of us who were bodybuilding, working out or whatever, and if you went by measurements or whatever or weight, you were over the limit, but you were rock solid, hard as a rock type thing, and you had to go in and they had to do all these special tests and send back a special exemption for you because if you were
Well, my thing is
all of this is just created.
No, it is. It's all created women who are so afraid to just be who they are, whatever stage of life they're in. And it's worse for us at this age because you get told, it's like, well, you're just too old. They always call it the curse of the two. You're too this or too that, or not too much of this and not enough of that.
Yeah.
Like you can't win. And so that's why it's so important, the work you're doing, because you're like, just push all that to the side and just focus on you. Make it about you, and then the rest won't matter.
Yeah.
And I think
because between what we're told with our parents, between what we see, maybe it was never talked about, but just what you see, because kids are sponges. the social media and nowadays the peer pressure to be like a Kardashian,
Yes.
right? Like if you don't look like a Kardashian or you don't look
And even
like a
the
Rihanna.
Kardashians don't look like Kardashians anymore.
No, I know, they're so plastic, right? I mean, and that's the thing. So there's just this level of, I call it comparitis, right? And originally I kind of coined that for businesses, right? Like my business isn't like her business isn't like her business, so I must be doing something wrong. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's everything, right?
Right.
My body isn't what it used to be, so I'm comparing myself to myself.
Yeah. Right.
But then I'm also comparing myself to the celebrities that aren't even real,
Right.
to, you know, friends that might be 10 years younger.
Right.
So they haven't, you know, and we're just comparing all over the place all the time. And we're not focusing on us. So
Right.
my work kind of revolves around gaining that confidence within yourself to, as I lovingly like to say, not giving a fuck.
Exactly.
Right? I have no fucks to give about your opinion about.
Right.
Me.
So
You
I
know?
always say your fuck budget has a 0 line item.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But it's taken a long time to get there, right? And that's the thing is, I try to get across to people that this isn't going to happen overnight, because in my case, I have, let's call it 45 years, right? I might be
Yeah.
50, but you know, awareness probably starts around 5 or 6. I've got
Right.
45 years of bad habits to break. Or as I started this journey at 41, so I've, you know,
Right. Yeah.
30 whatever years of 35 years of bad habits to break.
Right. And all the
And
conditioning and the teaching and the
Well, I know for
programming.
me, it's like I had a very definitive idea in my mind when I was 6, 7, what I liked. But I remember distinctly going, you know, because I happen to like, you know, like the not the saddle oxers, but I like the tie shoes and whatever. And whenever we would go shoe shopping or that, my mother would have a fit because she didn't like, I mean, they remind her of something and she wouldn't let me, I mean, like, you don't want to wear that, or, you know, or me getting
so then
into
you start questioning what you actually like, right?
That's where you start questioning. You can't trust yourself to
Yep.
even decide what to wear.
And that started when I was 6. I remember picking out a dress that I really liked, that, you know, that was, you know, and it had a necktie with it. It was like, it was attached to it. And my mother threw so much, you know, she fussed so much about that. I took the tie off when I had my school pictures made.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, and I remember that.
Because she thought it looked too man. And I mean, I love that dress.
Well, it's probably also more comfortable because men's clothes have always been inherently,
Well,
they
yeah,
can be
and like I said,
fashionable
and
and
it was,
comfortable, whereas women's clothes are made to not be comfortable.
and I was like 7
Yeah.
or 8 at the time. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, when you start defining your style and you're told, you know, people are making faces and you don't want to wear, you know, you really don't want to wear that. Or my grandmother was a phenomenal seamstress, but I remember, you know, I bought patterns for her to make me some clothes, and I wanted it exactly like that. Well, she decided that she didn't like the material that I wanted, so she chose for herself what color I was going to have.
Yeah.
And I was just dumbfounded when she gave it to me. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Tracy, weren't you just saying you talked to your mother the other day and then she was saying that she didn't realize maybe until you really came into your own,
Yep.
how that she had felt about herself most of her life.
Yeah. Yeah. And even now, like, yeah, we were comparing. I think I was complaining about something. I can't even remember what. And, you know, because she's been asking how's like the whole perimenopause or menopause thing going. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you know, this is happening and this is happening. And so I assume that's what it is given my age. And, you know, yeah, the weight all of a sudden is like, where did this come from?
Right.
I'm not changing my lifestyle in any way or what I eat. And all of a sudden I've put on 10 pounds. And she's like, welcome to menopause. And then she's like, well, how, you know, what's your weight now? And so we talked about it. And I'm only 10 pounds heavy. Like, I'm the weight now that she was when I was younger. So like when she was in her 40s or whatever. And she was like, I thought I was so huge, but you're like proportional. And she goes, and I'm only about 10 or 15 pounds heavier than you are now. And look at me, I'm a whale. And I was like, you're not a whale.
Isn't
It's
it
just,
funny, your self-perception? Like when you
yeah,
look
I'm
in the
like, you just
mirror.
carrying it differently. Like she's lost her waist, right? Like her middle has spread. She's lost her waist. I still have a waist, but it's not the waist that it was.
Right.
And she's just kind of surprised how only having 10 or 15 pounds different looks so different on
Right.
both of us. Right. And that's where I realize that, yes, a lot of my inner talk came from her because she was never happy with her weight.
Right.
But in hindsight, she can say now, wow, I really wasn't that heavy.
No. Well, you hear a lot of women, they'll look at pictures when they were like in their 20s and they thought they were so ugly or so overweight. And they look back and they think, oh my God, I was beautiful.
Yeah,
They
we
spent their
waste it.
whole young adult life thinking there was something wrong with them, that they weren't good enough.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Which I'm also hoping that while, yes, I primarily talk to older women and trying to break that, right? Like,
right.
you really weren't that big. You really aren't ugly. You're really not whatever fill in the
Whatever
blank
it
you
is,
had,
yeah.
right? I do also hope that some of my messaging talks to younger women so that then maybe they stop living their lives like we did, constantly beating ourselves up for X, Y, or Z, right? Like maybe they can start to see that
No,
they
you can
are
preempt it. If
beautiful.
we could catch it earlier, it's almost like
Yeah.
when you're being trained as a child, it's like if you can catch these young women when they're in their 20s and teach them,
Yeah.
dress for yourself. Do you think you look good? If you
And
didn't factor in everybody else that you're
yeah,
thinking about, do you like the way you look? Do you like the way you feel? And then if they say yes, you're like, well, then bingo, you've got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or they see the transformation that their mom is making
Right.
and
Exactly.
can then
Lead by
look at
example.
themselves, right? Like,
Yes,
you
that's a
know,
big thing we've been talking about is our generation. We have I feel an almost responsibility to lead by example. It's like, I kind of feel like we
yes,
dropped the baton a little bit.
totally.
And,
Yeah,
for
I
different
think so.
reasons, but it's like, we can still pick it back up,
Totally. I don't think that there's ever a time where a child isn't learning from a parent and vice versa.
right.
That even at 50, now he's young, he's going to be 9. So it's not like I've got a teenager, like in your case, you've
Right.
got Lauren who's 25,
Right.
so whatever you were talking about back then, maybe she's picked up, but if she sees you picking up that baton and going,
Yeah.
oh, well, if mom can do it,
Yeah.
maybe it's not so bad, or maybe I can do, right? So in my case, I'm hoping to totally get it from the get-go
Right.
because
And
he's
it's
so young.
funny because sometimes the kids believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Because I get that all the time. I'll say something, I'll express some kind of self-doubt, and they're almost like shocked to hear me say that I'm doubting something, my ability to do something, because they don't see it. It's all
Well, and that's
internalized stuff that I have to overcome.
yeah. Well, and that's my mom in these conversations that we've been having. She's like, I would never have known you weren't confident.
Isn't that
Never.
interesting?
She goes, that is not the persona that you put out there. And I said, well, I think I had to because I felt so uncomfortable,
Right.
but it was never a fake it till you make it for me.
Right.
I always felt like I had to fit in, which was a skin that I wasn't comfortable with.
Right.
And consequently, I never fit in
Right.
because I wasn't being me, but I
And
didn't know
even
what
if you
me
could
was.
have fit in, you wouldn't let yourself fit in because you were self-doubting yourself everywhere. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And now, yes, I have found that turning 40 and having him at 40, as a friend of mine once put it, the fuck you 40s hit hard.
Yeah.
And that was when
Isn't that funny to me? It's like I heard people talk about that and I didn't know what they were talking about, but I'm telling you, it was probably about 41 that it hit me like, and it hit hard. It was like, fuck everybody. It really was. It was like,
yeah, well,
I
and that was
no
when
longer cared what, and
yeah.
it built, it took.
Yeah, and it was funny. I used to laugh at grandma because when we were kids, grandma had a filter. I mean, even like a filter with us, we couldn't. And all of a sudden, she hit a certain point in her life where she didn't,
there was
whatever
no
she
filter.
thought came out of her mouth, and we used to laugh about it. And I'm like, now I know why.
But now
she
you
did
know
that.
what it is exactly. Because I'll tell you, I heard about it, but it's one of those things until you experience it, and you can't tell these younger women what's coming.
No,
like, just hang on, because you're going to hit that age, and it's
they'll never
always
believe
gonna
you
be,
until they
it's
get
like,
there.
it's all.
I mean, I remember the first time I heard a 4-letter word come out of my grandmother's mouth. We were driving down the road, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and she didn't bat an eye. She just says, well, and just kept driving.
And for me, that's been my clothes. For me, that's been wearing something that I would never have worn
Right.
in my 20s. Now, I did go through a short phase right after I graduated high school where I was like, you know what? I've never worn a crop top. Oh, I'm going to wear a crop top. But not only was it a crop top, it was a spandex white crop top. And I felt a little weird, but I still pushed through and I wore it, and it ended up becoming a favorite top of mine. But then I hit 20. I was like, oh my God, I can't wear that. No, I can't wear that. So I
have to grab
stopped.
my charging cord. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah, and now I'm finding while it's not crop tops, it's other things, and it's things that I do get side eye about, but I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I like it. I'm going to wear it. And the one who gives me the most side eye is my mother. And it's
Probably,
really
yeah.
funny.
I mean, I remember, it's like, of course, I grew up in the era where people wore hip hugger jeans, which I dearly love, but I still, but I made sure that my shirt came over the top of them or whatever. But I remember my brother and I both had a pair. My grandmother burned my brother's pants, literally.
No way. Oh, wow.
He also had a t-shirt that said, "I'm so happy I could shit," but that was another, she got rid of that too. But
I love it.
Or
I love it.
the frayed pant, like the frayed bottoms, your bell bottoms, and she wanted to put a border out of some kind of leftover remnant material on the bottom.
Oh, she didn't like the
no,
rip.
it's supposed to be. I took the hem out on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Because that's also that with my grandmother, it was, and I think my mom pushed some of that off on us, was that, you always had to leave the house looking impeccable because, clean underwear and everything, because you might be in a wreck. And I'm like, you think about it,
I remember,
like, honey, if I have a wreck, I'm going to shit all over myself anyway.
That's true.
right? Yeah, I remember that. I remember my mom saying that.
The funny thing, the only reason
often.
I ever worried about it, because what if the fireman was hot? Toots are coming. You might want.
You're probably so out of it you wouldn't even notice anyway. But
no, that would be so funny. So funny.
I love it. I love it.
That was when I got. I mean, and a few years ago, I had an accident, and it was like, and of course, I still have all my body parts, tonsils included, and it was a very. Because I broke, like, it was considered a hip fracture, but I actually broke the upper part of my femur. Well, honey, they had to strip me down, and here are my colleagues sitting there. Two of the guys, one of the guys was sitting there and thinking, I'm like, I was mortified because it was like I hadn't shaved my legs, I hadn't done this, whatever. But there's a whole thing when they strip you down from a bunch of strangers. It's like you just kind of lose
what are you gonna do?
Like,
you lose your dignity. I felt like I lost that when I was pregnant and had to give birth. So it was kind of
God.
at that point where I was like,
yeah, you really learn to not care when you've gone through enough visits trying to have a kid. Yeah.
Well, that was it. It was like, the injury hurt. I didn't care if they took off everything. I just wanted, and the next day I'm like, well, they saw me in my shining glory last night.
Well, no, that's the same thing when you're delivering a baby, is like, you really don't care who's there by the time it gets there. Like,
no, it's like, just get it out.
Yeah.
And I think because I had a few medical, not major complications, but being a mature mother and a couple of other things. Really? No, over there. Go. I must have had 6 people in the room. So you really, really do just kind of like, and it was just so that they could make sure that my blood pressure, and I have a blood condition that's called factor V latent. So it doesn't clot as well as it should do. And so, or it clots too easily. Sorry. So of course they just wanted to make sure that like the epidural was okay. And so we had a lot of people. And so after that, I was like, man, I got no dignity now. I'm just going to do whatever.
Well, that's it. They're running a catheter up you, or they have to put you on a bedpan or whatever. And, it's like whatever embarrassment you used. It's like, you know what? They just saw me do. I mean, anything and everything that had to be done here.
Yeah, basically. So it's, I guess, kind of just getting women into that mindset. It's like, okay, so you haven't had a kid, so you don't really know what losing all of this dignity sort of means, but where can we bring it back to?
Right.
Not giving a fuck. Even if we didn't have the human design piece, even if I couldn't dive into that, what would it mean to wear something that you really like? Well, I don't know what that would be. Okay, so what trends have you seen come and go, or that you see now that is something you would like to wear, but you won't give yourself permission for, right? I mean, like, we don't even have to do the human design piece. It's really just, that's one factor, right? It's really just, no, sorry. It's really just about, I'm trying to think of, so back in the day, parachute pants. Right, MC Hammer came out with parachute.
I love my parachute pants, though.
I loved it. I wanted an actual pair of parachute pants, but my parents wouldn't buy them because they weren't appropriate.
Right.
So what came out around that time was a new store called O Cotton. or au coton, because it was French, right? And everything in it was cotton, which was great. And they had their version of parachute pants. So I put them on, but I didn't like the way that they looked.
Right.
So in order to wear them so that I felt comfortable with them, I just did my own little thing. But it was just like, you know, crop tops. I didn't like crop tops, but I forced myself to wear it to see what I would think. So it's like going back into your 20s and teens. What did you wear that you loved? What did you wear that you didn't get to wear, but you kind of want to find something that's similar
Right.
now, you know, and then just starting to work through those things and the stories that you grew up with, right? Like, what did you hear your mom say? What did your friends say? And for me, you were talking about 7 and these things that you loved, and remembering that your mom and your grandma were like, no. For me, that was mixing and matching patterns. I used to love, I had this pair, and I don't even know. I mean, it was obviously so traumatic. I still remember it. I was probably about 9 or 10. I had a pair of pastel floral abstract shorts that I adored. And I had a little boat neck tank top that was diagonal primary stripes, but they were really thin stripes. And I loved that top. I put them on together and I thought I was like the hottest shit going. One friend said that, what are you doing wearing that? My mom would say, patterns, you don't mix patterns. And then I had one friend that was like, that's a little weird. Why are you wearing that? Never wore it again.
What? Yeah, it happens just that
To this
fast.
day, I don't like patterns.
Yeah.
I have very few patterns in my closet. It's mostly like, you know, just what I'm wearing today, because today's the only day I'll wear it. Mostly colors,
Yeah.
solid colors. So that's my thing I'm trying to work through now, is just
Right.
buying the odd pattern piece. Will I ever put 2 patterns together? I don't know.
Yeah. And to me, like when it comes to like stripes, I'm so conscientious about ever having a shirt that has horizontal stripes, because it makes you
Yep.
look bigger. And that's been my whole life. I've been like that. It's not, you know, not even a now thing. I've always been so
Well, and
conscientious.
even if you're not, if it doesn't make you look bigger, like in my case, I'm not that tall. So I always thought, you know, well, that makes you look short. You know, you hear people say, well, it
Yeah.
makes you look short, it makes you look, you know.
And who came up with these rules? That's what drives me nuts.
That's the thing.
No white after Labor Day. I still can't figure that one out.
Like, what difference does it make?
Right.
Seriously. And again, that's also a North American things. Like a Labor Day is a North America. It's an American thing. Did they
We have Labor Day.
I mean,
we
it's
have
like,
Labor Day.
but you get to these other countries, it's like, well, who made up all the rules?
Well, it's just like they tell. I mean, just like there's an unspoken rule, which I did push the envelope of that, because I love my boots, like my knee high boots. It's like people think you shouldn't wear boots in the summer, and I have latched on to
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks' song, I wear my boots all summer long, because I love my boots.
No,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I'm not gonna wear ones with fur. I'm not gonna wear ones with fur trim, but I like.
Well, but you know what? Let's take it back. Cowboys or people who like Western wear boots year round.
Yes, they do.
Get to wear boots year round, and no one says to them it's after Labor Day you can't wear boots. So
Yeah.
how did women get stuck with all these rules that don't even make logical sense? Because men aren't expected, you know, nobody says anything to a man about wearing a nice white shirt to work, to the office after Labor Day. So who made up that rule? And snow is white. So why does that have anything to do with the, you know?
Yeah, I did look it up and I did find the rule, but I couldn't tell you what it is now. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like, don't mix and match patterns. Don't wear navy blue and black together, or brown and black, or this white.
Oh yeah, I remember. I had kind of it wasn't beige or like a light. It was like a very, very light brown. It was almost beige, and I had a pair of blue corduroy. And I remember, and this was like, I was in the Air Force, and somebody said, you don't wear light blue and brown together. And I'm like, and I'm looking in the mirror, I don't know why it looks, and I mean, it was like, I thought it looked fine, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Hmm.
Whether it's a rule that somebody made and we don't know where it comes from,
Right,
or it's somebody else's perception of what is okay or not okay. So what made them think it was okay to tell you that you don't wear that together because you liked it? The problem is that I never saw myself as a people pleaser, but I mean, I guess just by the very nature of being a woman, we tend to be people pleasers.
right.
We take that on, and so we stop wearing it.
Yeah.
But why? And that's just where I want to start really
Right.
getting women to think about the why.
The why.
Why do
are
we
you
not wear
wearing what
something?
you're
Why do
wearing?
we do
Yeah.
something? Why? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you can get to what drives them, then you can help them step into their power and say, you don't have to live like this anymore. You do get to choose. Those
Yeah.
are all literally, I always say this thing, and I say it a million times, like everything's made up. Why
Yeah.
can't you make up your own? It's like, because literally every rule that has ever been made is made up by somebody because it suited them at the
Yep.
time. So why can't you make up your own rules that suit you now?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you're a woman who's lived most of her life people pleasing. Like you said, we're trying to fit in. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be ostracized. We don't want to be seen as that woman, or whatever the things are.
Yeah.
And we've just
I
reached
heard,
out.
I heard somebody, I heard somebody the other day refer to that. It's I can't remember who the lady is, but she referred to it as crap fitting to make yourself acceptable. It's like you push yourself into,
No, you do.
whatever mold.
You make yourself so small to fit in. It's like a shrinky dink, where you color the
Yeah.
little plastic thing and they put you in the heat.
Yeah.
And you shrink smaller and smaller and smaller because they think
Well,
that's prettier.
And that's how I felt wearing stuff that, when I got dressed in the morning, I was like, this would be a really cool combination to wear, right? It was a gray pencil skirt, a white button down, and then I have this electric blue waist cincher or underbust corset, and I threw them on together, and I just thought it looked like the bee's knees. And I think I had I even put on nylons, and I never wear nylons.
Awesome.
And some nice black heels, and I thought I looked awesome. But it was a semi-conservative office, and I was pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, as soon as I walked in, I don't even think anybody had to look at me, and I kind of went, oh, what am I wearing?
Cringing back. Yeah.
Why am I wearing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I would fidget with it, right? Like, is it too tight? Yeah, it's feeling a little too tight. Maybe I need to go in the bathroom and undo it a little bit, or, and that was the thing, is like, but I wasn't inappropriate. So why was I so uncomfortable?
Right.
But it's the same. I mean, it took me the longest time to be able to, because I was conditioned that girls wore pantyhose. And the first time that I went out without a pair of hose on,
Oh, it's
with a
uncomfortable.
skirt,
Yeah.
I felt like I was naked. I mean, it was like, and truly probably nobody noticed but me, but it was like, I just, felt some kind of strange way, like I was breaking some kind of major rule because I had gone out without my hose,
Well, I used to have a big thing about if you could see a woman's bra straps. It was boy, you get in so much trouble in the workplace for that.
That was a huge no-no for so long. Like, why would you want to show that? That's like, that's private. That's, no.
It was a big, big deal. And I remember it took me forever to get used to seeing that just out on the streets.
Yeah.
And to not judge people for it. That would be the thing, to not judge them for it.
Yeah.
Well, there was this quote at this office I used to work for. That something like, if your cleavage you are showing to the house, you will be going. And that was what our executive director said.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where, and there was more involved with it than that. I mean, but she even sent somebody home because she didn't like to color their fingernail polish one time.
Well, I remember, and I don't remember, I was probably a teenager when I heard there's an early, maybe late teenager, and where a preacher said, girls, if it's not on the menu, cover it up. Talking about the way women dress. And that stuck with me for so long. And I was like, wow, which is, again, reduced you to an object to be consumed, but if it's not on the menu, cover it up.
Yeah. See, oh, there we go. Now I'm not so jumpy. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And that's, I guess, if that's how people want to view us, that's fine, because their opinion of us is no business of ours.
That's what we have to realize. Yes.
And that's what we need to stop taking on.
Right.
That's their opinion.
Right.
And they're welcome to it. I just don't need to take it on anymore.
Right. Well, we need to make the most valuable opinion our own.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like put the oxygen mask on yourself first. It's like, make you the priority. And it's like every Wednesday now, like on Instagram, I post this. It's like, love yourself the most first. And then you have so much more to give. But if you can fall in love with yourself, your life gets infinitely better right off the bat, because you don't even notice what other people are thinking about you, because you love yourself that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, loving myself, and this is where I want to get other women too, is accepting my style.
Yes.
And accepting my style is not going to be someone else's style.
Right.
Is okay. And even as a coach, my style isn't going to be your style, and it's not my job to turn you into a mini me. It's to help
Right.
you find your style.
Right.
And maybe it won't be as sexy as mine, but I'm still going to try and push your edges a little bit.
Right.
But even then, cover it up. Go and splurge on a nice bra and panty set,
Yes.
and you'd be surprised at how much taller you stand.
Exactly. That's
You
it's not
know,
even about what's evident. It's just how you're
but
carrying
nobody needs to
yourself.
know you're wearing it.
No, they don't at all. And you can't explain to women who've never done that little experiment.
No,
You can't explain how it changes the way you feel about yourself and the energy you put off. It's not about what anybody can see. It's all
Yeah.
coming from within because you know it's there, and that gives you that extra little piece of pizzazz while you're walking in through Walmart or wherever.
it's a little bit of like, I've got a secret.
Yeah,
You know,
it absolutely
and
is. It makes you a little bit mysterious, and you walk differently when you're wearing really hot underwear. It's just a thing.
or even
Well,
heels,
that's
right?
right.
Like I know,
I think it was Batman underwear one time, and it was like, and every time I thought about it, I would just start laughing, and I couldn't tell anybody why, but it was like, I had worn them to work.
No, it's like your own little secret. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, that's and that's the point too, right? Is for all of these so-called rules that are out there, what they've done in my mind is they've made it not fun.
They have. Yes.
Right. And
fun.
there's a level of fun and playfulness that should happen in
Yes.
clothing, whether you're completely buttoned up
Yes.
and wearing a tie or whatever, or three-piece suit,
right?
or you're just in a pair of t-shirt and jeans, or Lululemons and Uggs.
Right.
It needs to be because you want to, and it needs to be fun.
It should be
not
fun.
because
That's
someone dictated X or Y to you.
Absolutely. Fashion should absolutely be fun, whatever that means to you. And I would say it means different things to different women, but fashion can be fun. It doesn't have to be the burden that we've turned it into.
It should be fun. I mean, look at even if you just watch some of the runway shows that go on, yes, they're a little stuffy, and yes, they're, clothing that you would never wear. But that's the point.
Well, it's like when you see the avant-garde stuff that they do. Like, if I love Project Runway, like one of my favorites, especially when
be on
it.
Love that show. Yeah.
But it's like the stuff they would come up with, and that was stuff like you're like, yes, I wouldn't necessarily wear it, but yes.
Yeah. And that sort of thing is like, do you remember being a kid on Christmas and opening up a present and because you didn't know what was in there? I sort of feel like that's where we need to be. And for me, that's the online shopping, because sometimes when I buy stuff, I forget about it.
Yeah.
And then it shows up and it's like, oh, something showed up.
It's always fun to get mail.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, like I saw a sale on the other day of an online store that I like, but I've never actually bought anything from them yet. And they had this jacket that was on sale for $20. So I was like, well, what the hell? Even if it sucks, it was $20, right?
Yeah.
So I bought it. Is it the most comfortable, the most, fashionable jacket out there? Probably not, but it's a style that I do like. I do have another coat like it, just not in blue, because blue's not usually my thing. But it's a little different. And will I find a reason to wear it? Probably.
Yeah.
But it was $20. And it was like, ooh, I ordered something. What did I order? Everything else I think has shown up. What am I forgetting? Open it up. Oh, it's my coat. And so it was like, it's Christmas. It's fun. It's, and it got me giddy, and I was bouncing around the house trying it on. And Quinn was like, what is your problem? I'm just having fun.
Awesome. So what is some, like, when you start working with women, like if you're getting ready to take on a new client, what are some of the first questions you ask her to get her thinking about how to move forward into her powers? Like,
well, generally I like to start with, do you remember things that your mom used to say? Right. And how they made you feel, even if it was about your own mother. How did it make you feel to hear her say these things? Are there celebrities that you kind of admire, that you look up to, that you sort of are like, ooh, see, and for me, that would be Dita Von Teese.
Oh yeah.
Love that woman.
Yeah.
I think she's glamorous. She's elegant. The clothes that she wears are so cool. Not anything I would necessarily wear, but there's just something about her in that is like, that's what I want to exude. Right. So it's not even necessarily, are they wearing stuff that you like? Just, do they have a vibe? Right. Because then that gives me somewhere to start with. Why don't you feel that vibe? What do you think would get you in that vibe? And then we start down that road. And then, scroll Pinterest,
Yeah,
create a fashion
that's a
board.
great start. Pinterest boards are
Like
wonderful for that. Yeah.
I've got a fashion board of things that I probably would never wear, but I love. There's something about the piece that calls me. And then I've got a board of clothes that I would wear if I knew where to get them. And Pinterest sometimes has stuff that's really old and you can't find it, so it takes a bit of time, but still, it's a starting point. It gets you kind of starting to think about where you're at now and where you'd like to go.
Right. And also deciding, it's like, yes, the things that you used to love, but what do you love now? Because like my taste in clothes and like everything in the house have changed. And I still love some of the older things, but some of my stuff is completely done a 180. Like things I would have liked then, I like something completely different now. And it's like, can you meld the two together? It's like pull the pieces of the things you used to love, you didn't get to wear. Yeah. And then bring into the thing of the woman you are now.
Well, or in the thing you said earlier, who's in your closet?
Yeah.
And are there pieces of her that you like? Are there pieces of her that you love?
Yeah.
Are there pieces of her that make you go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right. Because then that also gives us somewhere to start as well, because the ones that you're questioning, you know what, I'm probably going to challenge you to take that stuff out of your closet.
Yeah. It's funny. I sent you this thing. It's like, it was Aubrey Loves Paris, whatever her thing is. My toxic trait is hoarding clothes that I don't even wear. Sometimes I have found that it's not so much about the clothes, but the emotional, what you've made the clothes mean. Yep. You might not even like the clothes anymore, but you've associated a definition with those. Like, I felt so hot when I wore that, but now I'm too big and I can't wear that.
It's like that pair of Levi's that I burned, that I literally had that pair of Levi's for probably 30 years. And I finally took a step and say, you know what, it's time for they still fit. But I literally had a whole ritual where I went out and burned those pants.
Yeah. Well, sometimes those clothes from especially our younger adulthood it represented freedom that we don't feel like we have anymore, but we won't let go of it, even though we may never wear it again.
Well, there was a lot of history in those pants. Those pants have been through relationships. They've been out there. They've been everywhere.
I think women have to find, it's like, what does free, and that's what I come back to your style and your fashion is freedom of choice, freedom to be. What does that freedom mean to you right now? It's like, as a woman, what does freedom of expression, what does that mean in the way you dress?
Yeah. And for me, that basically means I don't give a fuck. I'm going to wear what I want.
Yeah.
And is my closet what I would like it to be? No, but I kind of feel like I'm growing with the clients too, right? Like I'm helping them, and in helping them, I'm helping me, right? Because my wardrobe grows then too, or at least I can look at it objectively. And I've sometimes had to take out pieces. You know what? I'm wearing this too much. It's not really me. I'm kind of feeling a little blah. So I have to physically remove it out of my closet. Otherwise I will always grab for it.
Oh, and that's
even if I know I don't like
your comfort zone. Yeah. Instead of like really embracing who you are, especially if you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but there's a certain, when I open my closet, because you wash something, you put it right back in the same spot. So that's the first grab. There's a section that's probably about this wide of this, and you just put it back. So when you open your closet, you just grab, you start through the,
it's funny.
What we need to do is start shuffling things around when you put it back.
I actually have my closet color coded. I'm not even kidding you. All my shirts are separated by color.
I probably should do that. Although to be honest, I have very few colors. It's mostly black and white.
That would be me.
But it's removing that comfort level. Like I get it. We like our t-shirts, we like our Lulus, we like our whatever. Yeah. But in order to start, like, if you want that freedom, then we have to start removing the comfort level to a degree. And I'm not saying you've got to throw them out. Right. I'm just saying remove them for now.
Well, sometimes like we talk about when we're doing mindset work is like sometimes the thing that used to protect you, made you fit in, becomes your prison. The protections, it doesn't serve you. Then it served you. It doesn't serve you anymore. Yeah.
Well, and I really like Mel Robbins. What is it? 3-second rule.
Yeah. 5-second rule. Yeah.
5-second rule. Yeah. Because if you wait much longer than that, the brain will start talking you into or out of.
Yeah, something else, right? I recommend that book to people all the time. That I haven't always followed it, but that 5-second rule works like a charm because it's absolutely
and the way to do that is, or even when you're looking at it, what does Marie Kondo say? Like
sparks like, joy, yeah.
Yeah. Where for me, I've got a trucker mouth, so it's like, is it a fuck yes?
Is it yeah,
if you're looking
it's
at it
either a
and it
hell
doesn't
yes or
do
a
that,
fuck no. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
you
one or
know,
the other.
so 5-second rule, does it bring you joy? Is it a fuck yes? Is it, like, there's all these things that we know we should do, but we rarely ever do because we are creatures of habit by nature.
Right. Well, how about we give a challenge to not just the people that are here tonight, but
Yeah.
tomorrow and beyond, because this thing will be replayed, people, you will see this again. It's like
Yes.
using the 5-second rule, walk into your closet and pick that one thing you wouldn't dare wear.
Yes.
And for those of us on the call, show up in it tomorrow.
I like that challenge.
Yeah.
And I would also challenge too, moving forward. Like, if there is something that you don't like, or how do I want to say this? Something that something that Dawn and I probably see in the coaching world quite a bit is this 1% rule, or it's not even a rule, right? But just, even if it's something that you're on the fence about. Okay, so you really don't want to show up in it. That is a challenge. I'm going to take that on too, because I know I've got stuff in my closet. But how could you improve your mood even just 1%? Is it a different, is it a new nail polish color? Is it a lipstick? Is it a slightly lower cut top than you would normally wear? If you wear low cut, is it a turtleneck? You know what I mean? Like, what is something that you could do to improve your look and how you feel? Even just 1%. Doesn't have to be a whole lot.
No, absolutely. It's like, they say that if you're flying from the States, like California to Hawaii, you're actually off course most of the time, but it's those 1-degree turns that helps you land, because if you stayed on a straight course, you would end up somewhere completely different. You have to make those 1-degree turns to get where you want to go. It's just little baby steps. It's not the big things.
It's not about a complete overhaul of your closet.
Yeah.
It's about what can we work with that's in there. So what is 1%? How could you feel 1% better about your style?
Yes.
And come to the call wearing something that you wouldn't normally wear.
Yes.
Well, it's like, even when you talk about the t-shirts, I mean, I have like a few concert t-shirts and stuff like that, I saw one of my parents the other day that had a Van Halen shirt on, and she had totally dressed it up. She had some other stuff with it, and it was like, wow, and it just totally changed the look. So she wasn't just somebody wearing a jeans and t-shirt. I mean, she was styling with that thing, because she had her jewelry on.
Absolutely. No, it's
and
those
it looked
little
completely
things.
different.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think, especially with Tracy's work going forward, because it's so important. And there's actually not a lot of people talking about fashion or your personal style. There's really not, surprisingly enough. And that's the one thing that everybody has in common. We have to put clothes on every day unless you live in a colony. We're all dressing somehow, and that's reflecting who you are. So you tell people who you are the minute you show up, however you present yourself. And we always used to think it's like this, like you say, this buttoned up thing, but is that really who you are? Or are you pretending to be somewhere you're not because you're afraid of what somebody's going to say?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I have stuff, and this is a little bit off, it's not so much the clothes. I have clothes in my closet that I bought that I really like, but I mean, and it's a very commonplace thing now, but I got a tattoo when I was like 30, I was 24. And even now, I'm very hesitant to wear a sleeveless shirt out in public in certain places or whatever, because I live in a very conservative area or whatever. And yet that's where that's I feel the most comfortable. But I remember when I was, went to the conference I was inducted as the state vice president for business professional women. And I mean, I did everything possible to make sure. I mean, I went and got a short jacket to wear over my evening gown, because I did not want to walk in.
Oh, yeah.
In this group of women, because I figured I was going to be judged by certain ones because there was some.
Funny, you always know that tattoo is there, even if you've covered it up and no one else sees it. You walk through the room thinking that everybody can see it. Yeah, and it makes you less of who you are. And the thing,
and part of that is because, when I got it, of course, it was a rebellion thing too, but I actually like it. I always have. And it's not, they all. But the first thing I got was somebody that worked in my office. One of the guys, what are they going to think when you put on an evening gown? And then I had, and I got it done overseas. And when I came home, my mother was mortified. It was like,
Yeah. So. And I would I would say that that's probably where some of my tattoos came from too. Now, if I get one, it's because I want to and I adore them and I actually showcase them now.
Right.
And if you were a client of mine, that would probably be one of my challenges for you
Right.
is
Well, and it's funny, I
when
go to
can you
work,
step out and show it off?
one of the therapists that works, and we also have a section of our school that does, it's called Believe and Achieve, that works with kids that have, their OTs and stuff like that. And one of the OTs, I mean, she has no qualms about flashing her tattoos, and she's probably 10 years older than I am.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's
why
like,
should
you look
she?
at,
Yeah, that's what. No, listen to what you just said, though. She has no qualms about it. So, and we go back to that. She
well,
should
that's what I'm saying.
have.
But yet
Yeah.
I do, and I'm like, why does it bother me? I'm afraid of being judged in an environment that she walks in every day.
Yeah,
And
you're
I mean, I
worried
love,
for the judgment that's going to come on her because, oh my God, she's showing her tattoos. Oh, what's going to happen to her?
Yeah.
We worry for other women like that too, because we
but
don't
she
want
doesn't
them to be
get it.
judged.
And I see her, and I'm like, I wish, you're like, I wish I could, could be
Show it
that.
off the
She
same.
really doesn't. She doesn't give a crap, and nobody, to the best of my knowledge, nobody's ever said anything. But the internalized voice for myself is expecting just, that somebody's going to say something to me.
Yeah.
Right. And that would be some of the work that we would probably try and, work
Right.
through over time, right? Is where does this internalized voice come from? Why do you think that is? How can we step outside of that in some, like 1% baby steps, right?
1%. Right.
And actually and whenever I think that the movie, What About Bob, always comes to me, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps,
Baby steps.
how could we, so that over time you would feel comfortable showing this off because you like it.
Right. It's part of who
Why
you
can't
are.
we show it off?
Right. So we're going to do this as a 2 that we're coming back tomorrow, which will be at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and everybody needs to convert for their time zone. So we'll do 2 different challenges, but what would you want to challenge women to do for tonight leading into tomorrow?
Ooh. Okay. So leading into tomorrow, what I would like you to do is take out at least 2 go-to pieces out of your closet. And I want you to set them aside. And I want you to notice the feeling that comes up when you know you can't put them on tomorrow.
Oh, that's a good one. Because we all have.
And I'll do it too, because I have go-tos.
No, I was like, I know exactly what I would go to.
So you can't wear them tomorrow. You can't wear them. Whenever you see this, the next day you can't wear them. You have to find something else to go to. And this is where we start to realize we actually have more in our closet than we think we do. Because how many times have you walked in and gone, I got to go do something, but I got nothing to wear?
Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh. And you try and gauge what you're going to wear to where you're going. It's like a whole, even if it's just to the store, it's a whole.
Oh, I've gone in and checked. I mean, I've put on one. I mean, it's kind of like taking a test where they tell you to go with the first answer. I have the first thing. I'm like, oh, but then I put it on and I go, no. And I mean, change clothes 15 times before I go to a function.
No, it's funny. On weekends, especially, I have certain things that I wear on the weekends. Always.
Yep.
Those are my weekend clothes, and I'm like,
Right?
I don't know what that means.
So I'll go easy and I'll say at least 2.
Yeah.
If you can come up with more than you've got a gold star, but try and come up with at least 2 go-to items and just set them aside. You don't have to get rid of them. After this,
Right,
you can put them back in and go nuts,
yeah.
but just for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But notice the feelings that come up when you can't reach for them.
And what should they wear tomorrow? Like if they're going to put those aside.
Wear something that you wouldn't come, you don't have to do it all day, but
Right.
come to the call with something that maybe you kind of keep going, oh, I should wear that, but no.
Yeah.
And see, and kind of, why don't you think you can wear that?
Yeah.
And I know the thing that I've got, actually, I don't know if I got rid of it. If I didn't get rid of it, I will come with it, but I might have gotten
Right. And
rid
you
of it.
can't use the excuse, I don't have anywhere to go to wear it. You just wear it. Yeah.
Just wear it. Because then what you need to do is you need to notice
Right.
what you're feeling inside and what you're telling yourself, right? And this is when we start to break down those patterns of, I'm going to wear what I want. But where are you feeling it? Are you feeling it in your gut? Is it in, are you feeling that contraction? Okay, well, why are you feeling that contraction, right? Let's start seeing why we feel that way.
Right.
Who's in your head when you're feeling it, right? Is it you or is it your mother? Is it your grandmother?
Whose
it a
voice
friend?
are you listening to? Yeah. Is it
who are you listening to?
Someone else's? Absolutely. Because everybody whether you're watching this on the replay, there might be something special tomorrow if you show up. Tracy has something that she is going to surprise us with.
What's it
So
gonna
you
be?
want to show up. You definitely want to do that. But it is, we're about 90 minutes in, so we're going to close it out so everybody
Yes.
can get on with their evening. This has been an excellent conversation.
been
We've
so
been
much
looking
fun.
forward to this for like 2 weeks now.
I know.
I'm
It's
so
been
excited
awesome. It's
because
been so much
these are
fun.
the conversations that need to happen, and you hear about them in bits and pieces, but we're here to spread it. That's like, we're going to spread it all over the internet and anyone that we can get to listen, because it's that important that women step into their power and realize that literally, and you hear this, it's a cliche, age is just a number, but it absolutely is just this arbitrary number that you happen to get assigned. It has nothing to do with who you are. It's all about how you feel about yourself, and are you willing to step into how you were designed, which is fabulous. Wherever you are, it is perfect, it is fabulous, and we want women to be all that they already are. You're not becoming, you're already fabulous. Just step into it.
As I quoted today on Facebook, you can be both a masterpiece and a work in progress.
And that was brilliant. Absolutely. It's absolutely true. It's like, you can be 100% fabulous right now and still want, you know what, tomorrow, 1%. I'm going to try that thing tomorrow. I'm going to dye my hair purple, whatever it is that you want to do. We're giving you permission granted to step into whatever that thing is that you want to play around with. Doesn't have to be permanent. It gets to be whatever you want it to be. We're creating,
and you get to change your mind.
Absolutely. Every day, every moment. Doesn't matter. As long as you feel excellent, doesn't matter. Because when you love who you are and you feel excellent, you are absolutely unstoppable. And that's what we're going for.
Yes.
Because we're taking back our power. But tomorrow, people, Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it'll be 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, and whatever time zone that happens to be for you. We want everyone, and we're going to be tagging some of you, so get ready. So if you're watching it replay, you're going to be getting a direct message from us.
Yes, we are going to be Rich Booze, and we are going to reach out.
We're doing the Rich Boo thing, so we're on it, people. We love you all, and we will see you all tomorrow.
This has been fun. Night.